Hello and welcome to What the Football. Once again, I'm not wearing a Spain jersey. Just by the way, this is something totally different.
Yeah. He has this other Spanish team who he's trying to support
It's the basketball team, okay? I made a mistake. It was a wardrobe error.
Team.
Right, thank you guys for joining us today. Chaitanya in the studio, Nikhil and Raman on Google Hangout. Guys, hello again. Before we get cracking on all the action again, wanted to just take a look at Group A now that 2 games have been played each and all around. Group A stacks up like this, and Mexico and Croatia will be playing each other next, and Brazil and Cameroon will be playing each other next. I worked out that, in fact, if Mexico and Croatia is a high-scoring draw, then Brazil and Cameroon somehow pull off a victory against Brazil, Brazil will be out.
Don't really see that happening.
I know, but after the long shots that's happened with Spain,
and after yesterday,
there's still hope for other people to be embarrassed wearing their jerseys as well. Right. Let's get right to Spain and Chile. Not what we expected, but the Chileans look like real World Cup contenders.
All of our predictions went to fail, didn't they? We were all expecting a draw or a Spain win. I, for one, thought that they would win 2-0 with Casillas actually manning his sticks, but the exact opposite happened with Chile doing the double over Spain. And how, again, what
like
pace.
A convincing performance throughout. They closed them down super fast. Their pace in general was non-stop. The internet has also been non-stop, of course, after all this has gone down. A lot of funny memes and a lot of crazy things that people have put down when they didn't expect. Yes, Justin Bieber, I agree with that as well. Justin Bieber got on board, the rest can go to wherever. Yeah. You had one job. This is my favorite. Oh, and ingredients for loss. Hey, Spain, keep on passing. We'll keep scoring. So this could be.
And he said Spain is the best option for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
21 touches in the entire game. That's not what you want from your striker who you've got from Brazil.
This is very true. Raman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. Is this the end for Tiki Taka?
First and foremost, when you were on yesterday, you asked me what's the prediction between Chile and Spain. I said I backed Chile to go out there and win, I said a 1-0 scoreline. I think they went on better.
Absolutely. That's why we have you on the show. He knows things that we do not. Maybe you should come here and wear this jersey.
No. I'm sorry to cut you short here, Raman. No one is ever wearing that jersey except you, and that too for the last time.
I'm going to just cut out this patch and put it on whoever wins. And then just pencil in 2 on top of the 0. Sorry, Raman, go ahead.
I think there'll be a lot of people who'd be wondering what to do with their Spain jerseys now. I'm very sure about that. I think it's time for the old guard to make way for the younger blood that's been warming the benches really for Spain. We talked about the youthfulness and the hunger that some of the teams have shown in the World Cup matches that we've seen so far, whether it was Mexico, whether it's Chile for that matter as well in the game yesterday. I think they're a lot faster, and more than the style of play going out of vogue, I think it's the players who are actually executing it.
Right.
They're the ones who I think probably it's time for them to say the last hurrah, at least on the international arena.
Well, Raman clearly agrees with it, and someone else who more importantly agrees with it is Xabi Alonso, who had a stinker yesterday, was taken off at halftime, and rightly so. Not only did he put in a lot of bad challenges, he was booked for all his troubles and was really not at the races, was replaced by Koke, who was far better than him on the night. Yeah. And he came out after this very embarrassing defeat and said that yes, it is the end of an era. It is a completely unexpected failure. We haven't been able to maintain the same levels. We've made lots of mistakes, and things are going to change. And he says this era of these players who are in the World Cup have played their last World Cup, but the manner in which they ended their campaign has not gone down well with either them nor the country.
Not, especially for players like Xavi as well, who it would have been nice to, at least if this was the last game that they had to have a shot at it, would have been nice to see him. Nikhil, sorry, Raman, you had something to say?
Yes, I did. I think good. In a way, I think it's great for world football. Whatever's happened, I know there are a lot of people out there who might turn around and say, hang on, you're talking about Spain here. But I think it was getting very predictable.
We must evolve.
it was an era, and I think like all eras, they do come to an end. Whether we talk about the sustenance level of great players, I think there's a time when the churn happens. It happens across sport, across teams, and probably it's happening with Spain. It's not the style of play, but the players executing that format.
The overall level of play, as we've said many times, has gone up across the board. The weak teams are no longer weak. There are people in there. As Ron was saying, change is in the air. Nikhil, Vicente Del Bosque will not be sacked apparently, but should he be?
No, I don't think he should be. I think he's one of those great managers who actually has a good head on his shoulders. I think he's going to come out stronger once he decides to retire the old guard.
Right.
My only question in this whole thing is, what happens to Iker Casillas now? His girlfriend is going to be in Brazil covering the World Cup. Where is he going to be?
Well, I think the answer to your question, Nikhil, lies in exactly a million other same questions which were asked in the same way to Iker Casillas, and he came out and said that, well, people are saying that this is my last game. Will it be or won't be? I don't know, but I've definitely... Well, he conceded that he was wrong and you can only do so much. He said he was horrible. He said he was horrid behind the sticks. He's never had a worse day in his career. And he will decide and he will take it in retrospect. He will take it all in his stride and see very good.
I think a fair assessment of his ability needs to be called in now. We always say that we take it for granted that keepers will just be the same and get older but not deteriorate too much. But this is clear indication that it's
I'd
time.
like to throw in a quick question before you go to the internet, which we have already gone. But before we move on, Raman sir, I'd like to pop in a question to you to ask that we thought with that Netherlands humping that Spain would actually sit up and realize that, oh, we need to change some things. This is not working. Clearly, that did not happen on the night. Do you think this is a sign of Vicente Del Bosque being adamant, or he's just used to setting up his teams that way?
There are two things here to that question. First and foremost, if he had the option of De Gea being fit, I think he would have been in goal instead of Casillas. That's number one. So he didn't have the option of changing someone in goal. I think that would have been the first bet. The second part was, I think he wanted to give the old guard a bit of chance, at least in the first half, to see if they can turn things around. It didn't happen. You talked about the substitution they made. They got Koke out there. They got Fernando Torres on also later in the game and took out Diego Costa. I think Costa has also been a letdown. We've mentioned this before. It's not just about being adamant. It's also about being having faith in your players and saying, okay, I'll give you one more shot to deliver because you've done so for so long. Mm-hmm. So more than adamancy, I think it was a format of play, and he went with the players whom he thought would be able to execute the game plan the best.
It's true. It's surprising that David Villa, given exactly what he said, right? I mean, he's tried, he's tested, he's good. He hasn't slumped even from leaving Barcelona. Whenever he's come on for Atletico, he's been on form, on fire. Why then not sub him on instead of Fernando Torres?
A lot of his substitutions were very, very befuddling considering the price Spain have to ultimately play at the end of this tournament, wherein all these players were given their last hurrah, but at what price?
Yeah. We were having our discussion at halftime when we spoke on the phone, right? That Chile were obviously getting in there. It was fast, their pace. They needed to match that almost, which they didn't seem to do. And Juan Mata was someone who they just...
The game was crying out for someone like Juan Mata with those quick touches. Yeah. Premier...
Him and Santi would have linked up very well.
Because, as we saw, there are two clear-cut chances of a free kick, in front of the box. And you would want someone like a Juan Mata who is a free kick taker, who is a set-piece dead ball specialist to come up and knock it in, because he will knock it in.
And given the position that they were standing over the ball, you would have had, all right, Santi was the only person who was standing over that. If you had Mata, that's two options. You could have put that ball anywhere.
And I think Raman sir also,
please go ahead
to add.
When you talk about Juan Mata and not getting him on there, the problem is, you say a guy can be really quick. He can really galvanize the style of play with the one touch and move quickly. The point is, will the others rally around him with that kind of a game plan that they went into the match with? So it wasn't just about getting him on as a substitute and trying to speed things up. It was whether the game plan was galvanized or pre-planned in that way to play that format. I don't think Spain were wanting to play that format at all.
But at the end, if the hands were pots and pans, the potters would be out of business.
Hey. And that's why, again, I come back to Xavi, why a player like him is so important, because you can build a shape and a team around someone like him. And Busquets also had a shocker. Forget the miss was just, I mean, I could have scored
The miss was glaring.
myself. But in general. And then, of course, post that miss, you could see very clearly in his play that he was trying too hard. He was trying little extra fancy flicks and chips just to get the ball across, just to prove that I didn't mess up. And it just not good enough.
I just saw something which if I would say in 5 seconds, but I think I would get the same nod from Raman and Nikhil and you in the set as well, that Spain's plan B should have actually been their plan A, because when they post 70 minutes, you see balls coming in from the flank, you see overhead balls. You don't have that kind of striker firepower to actually navigate balls from the flank or center. Their plan A went bad so badly that they actually had to revert to a plan which they had no artillery for, no firepower for. They were toothless in the last 20 minutes.
It was Coque da Costa. That's all they could do. They were like, okay, we know each other from Atletico, just knock it across. Nikhil, I'd like to ask you, who is the player of the match for you from Chile? Because Vargas, Vidal, and Sanchez, those were our 3 picks. Who would you pick from that, and why?
I honestly think Vargas. Vargas was the player of the match. His running was non-stop. His defense was non-stop. I mean, and the fact that he scored the first goal and sort of lifted Chile up so much, I think you look no further than Vargas. Although I would have to say, it's not by much that he's the man of the match. I think it was a fantastic overall team performance.
True.
And like you guys said, Spain don't have a plan B. I can't understand what the logic is. If you're losing 2-0, take off a striker to bring on another striker. 4 on 4 strikers. Lose 8-0. Right.
Adapt, right? Is essentially what he's trying to get to.
So they actually sub between from one Chelsea flop to the other.
Basically, hey. He's just going to pretend like the internet's buffered for a second there. Right then, well, that's what's happened with Spain and Chile. And we do have some awesome footage from Brazil of the post-match moment. That's Lakshmi has taken that for us. Thank you very much, Lakshmi from Brazil. Check this out. The Chile fans ecstatic. Whoa, look at that stadium, man. I would just love to be in there. Look at that.
And they actually made the media center.
There's a lot of red there, but it's all Chile, isn't it?
100 Chile fans actually, in fact, ruined the media center at the stadium because they were so jubilant.
Here they are
This is
wrecking
the exact
the
same
tube
footage,
now.
yes. The exact same footage. They were just running around the aisles in the stadium.
Hey, fantastic.
But again, little did they expect that they were going to do this.
Well, that is the joy of the World Cup. Anything is possible. Will it be possible now, moving on to our other review, for Croatia to have any shot? It's a long shot now. They did pull over a 4-0 victory over Cameroon, but
Too little too late.
Too little too late.
It's just that it's nothing else. The performance was brilliant. Everyone was shining brightly for Croatia. A very, very good team, solid team performance. But again, you would have expected that way earlier in the group to actually give it a shot. Well, they were good against Brazil, but scores don't go that way if you play.
It's true. Alex Song, of course, lashed out in quite a way. There's some funny memes about that as well. He basically just went and hit somebody who didn't even have the ball. Nikhil, did you manage to catch that moment of madness?
I want to know why are you asking me? Do I look violent to you?
I just feel like you'd have something funny to bring in there. There's not much you can say about that it was a moment of absolute madness. He just hit somebody, basically.
What madness? I kind of expected the cops to sort of round him up and take him away.
Well, he wasn't. He was obviously sorry afterwards. I mean,
yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Sure.
He does say it was a stupid moment for me, and I'm truly sorry. If I could do anything to take it back, I would. Please forgive me. No, we're gonna meme you instead. And they weren't the only people fighting in the Cameroon squad. There was a lot of infighting going on as well, including a headbutt from Asuakoto to Benjamin Mukanjo.
Again, you'd like to see the headbutt going the other way. Well, you would not like to see it, but you'd not like to see it against teammates. And Asu Ekoto with that afro I think that headbutt would carry a lot of weight.
Raman, when fights like this break out between teams, what can a manager hope to do, especially in a losing situation, to help quell that?
Separate them.
I don't think so. Not even separate them. I think go the Sir Alex Ferguson way. Maybe lash out with a kick on a boot that could land up on someone's face over the eye. You know what I mean?
Very David Beckham-esque of Raman sir to
Very
bring
David
that.
Beckham. I like that. Well put. So I just wanted to jump back. Group B, we didn't have a look at the table. Let's just check that out for a second, just to backtrack right there. Netherlands and Chile looking safe as nails up there. Australia and Spain, no chance for coming back from that. So that's pretty much how Group B is going to end. Good for Chile. They will play off, of course, Netherlands and Chile will play off to take
Isn't
top
it very
spot.
surprising to see Spain rooted at the bottom of the table?
Especially with a -6 in goal difference. That is shocker. Right then, moving on. Too late for Mandzukic. Obviously, as we said, he's not going to do much there. Let's go to our What the Fact for today then. Our What the Fact is, of course, to do with all of our stuff. Go for it.
No, I think it's Spain. It's what you're
the
feeling right now is what the picture is.
I didn't basically want to read it out because I'm wearing the jersey.
And they become the 5th defending champions to be knocked out in the group stages. Well, Italy, with that famous defeat to Switzerland, were the latest victims in 2010. Brazil in 1966, where England went on to clinch the title.
Yep.
Italy again in 1950, so they seem to be making a habit of it.
Brazil in 66 were also on the back of a double World Cup. So
that's an even
worse
bigger
for them.
disappointment. France, well, they know how to implode, explode.
They had a lot of Arsenal players at that time.
You've been supporting the wrong teams throughout.
You know what? Let's just move on. Guys, what do you obviously think we would love to know? Do tweet in at India Post Live. Use the hashtag WTFootball. That's what all our conversation is going to have tagged. We definitely want to hear what you have to say about all of this, about Spain going out so early, about Chile, the underdogs, about Netherlands, the overdogs, anything and everything. Do let us know. Tweet in. We'd love to hear that. On to some quick news now. Not much in the news today, except for Beats by Dre have been banned in the World Cup.
Again, well, you'd not like to see that, considering that was the only footballing accessory we could actually buy.
And they hyped it up with this fantastic ad, and that's it.
Well, Sony, being the principal sponsors of the World Cup, have asserted their authority on the tournament, saying that the headphones cannot be used or be seen, in fact, for that matter.
Not even be seen.
During pre-match presentations, during conferences, during interviews, or even shots of players walking in the stadium with their headphones on.
It's a bit much, don't you think?
Yes, and if Sony is actually going that way, I'd suggest take out a good pair of headphones and start supplying copies, right?
Agreed. Sony and Sony 6, they've got a lot of improvements to do.
Ready, what? Tread lightly, son. Tread lightly.
Snap. Right. Moving on then to the big match, Uruguay versus England tonight. Later on at 12:30. What a cracker that's going to be, because it's going to be England and Uruguay's hopes are in the balance for that game. Looking into that, let's have a look at Uruguay's team, shall we?
Uruguay will be boosted by Luis Suarez and Edinson Cavani leading the line for them. Suarez in a central attacking position, so you would expect Cavani to lead the line, and with this combination you'd actually see Cavani actually coming into a zone, because as we all know, Suarez is that dynamic presence, that all-action figure in the middle of the park who can make things happen from thin air.
Forlan will get a start, you reckon? Again?
One of their most experienced campaigners in the World Cup. I think he's the first name on the team sheet.
All right. They also had pace is going to be key for England. Let's take a look at England's squad and see what their options are. Because pace is where Uruguay suffer to a certain extent, even with Cavani back.
The team's not even done, and you have Baines on the left with pace. You have Jack Wilshere, who might get a surprise start because of that. Because England actually find now that opportunity that they can boss a midfield. Uruguay are very light in the middle of the park.
Yes.
So with Gerrard and Wilshere, you can have that stronghold in the game.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be looking to capitalize on that because Uruguay's their central midfielders, they are good. They're solid what they do, but they're like someone on the internet, I can't remember who it was. They quoted that they're like two pit bulls. They're just
they're two dogs in the middle of the pitch.
Two dogs in the middle of the pitch. They're menacing presence, you know.
When one man in the English team who's as fit as ever and raring to go is Wayne Rooney, who's been staying out with the reserves and training extra hard because of what's been
taking a lot of flack from the internet, despite having providing the assist for Daniel Sturridge and putting in a generally good.
Well, he's not scored in four full World Cup games, so I think he has something coming his way. But he gives a very, very sterling reply through his Facebook account on social media, going on and saying that, well, sometimes he wonders what the press are getting at, and I said from the start I want to do everything I can to make sure I'm ready for these World Cup games, and as part of that I was doing extra training a week before the squad joined up. That's exactly what I was doing. I was not banished from the first team, he said. I was actually in the reserves to do exactly what you people are giving me flack for.
Oh, fantastic. Well, proof is in the pudding. We will find out tonight whether he lives up to his words. Raman, England have played Uruguay 10 times previously, and Uruguay have come off the better of the lot out of those. Is it going to be speed or the midfield for you where they're going to be able to exploit?
As far as England are concerned, I think it's going to be the speed up front as well. That's going to matter for them. With Sterling and Sturridge there, and I think Wayne Rooney being given a position that he'd be more familiar and comfortable with, if he's given just as the inside right forward, he'd probably be doing a whole lot better. The second part, what I can't really understand is, the English media or the English fans singling out a particular player. We've seen this happen time and time again. Just let him be and let him play and express himself. The idea is he's not the only player who's out there meant to score goals. Yeah. So cut him some slack and let him do what he does best.
True say, I do believe Wayne Rooney has been getting an unfair end of the stick, even at Manchester United for a brief period. Nick Hill, Wayne Rooney has been used in other positions. Would you prefer to see him? A lot of people prefer to see him just doing what he does best, score goals. Why do they always try to move him around when they have other options? And he's a proven goal scorer.
I think the reason they move Wayne Rooney around is because you can actually see when Wayne Rooney steps on that pitch, he'll always give you 100%. He'll play as a center back. He'll play as the goalkeeper. Hell, he'd even be the water boy if required. He's good enough to do anything. It's a fact. He can play as the striker. He can play behind as the number 10. He can play on the wing. He can slot it in midfield. It's one of those things where you just know that a guy is good enough to be trusted in any position.
True say.
Well, I think as a manager also speaking, when you're managing Wayne Rooney, you are tempted with his versatility to play him in certain places. Because as he said, when you have someone in your team who can give you 100% in every position you put him, why not tinker around? But I think it's high time. The stakes are too high on this game to experiment with Rooney's role.
Yeah. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain will also be missing out, so there is a negative bit of some speed points in the
I think this game is crying out for someone like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, no? because with Uruguay, especially with Suarez and Cavani, you will see a lot of play from the center of the park. You will see Cavani and Suarez getting into action in the middle and in and around the wings, with the only support from the wing being Christian Rodriguez, because we'll also see Diego Forlan being withdrawn in the center and playing off their balls. So I think for someone like an Oxlade-Chamberlain to actually steam down the wings, it'll be an ideal boost of pace that England needs.
Pace, absolutely. Coming back to Raman, who's apart from, we always just talk about Suarez, Cavani, and Forlan, who is going to be their hope in defence that's really going to have to make a difference, and who are they going to have to mark?
I think coming back to Uruguay and what they expect, first and foremost, the key is going to be what can Suarez do and how fit is he before anything else, because that's going to be the critical part for them. There's just so much being talked about Suarez and what he can come up with in this particular game. That's going to be the key. And as far as back in the backline is concerned, you've got to look at what Gordon can do and what Pereira or what Rodriguez can do as far as defense is concerned. So they'll really have to tighten their backline, especially the wingers.
Right, completely agreed over there. Guys, any final points you want to make on this? This time I'm going to get us done in time for the match.
I think
great.
I think again, as Raman and Nikhil both pointed out, that Suarez is the key, and there's a lot of pressure on him. So I think he better deliver on this game, because there is no other game. It's like a platform that is being primed for Suarez's breakthrough into the ranks of the greatest players in the current moment. So if he does this right now, I think he makes it so much easier for Uruguay to qualify.
True say, he also does make him more expensive for Real Madrid, so that should be interesting. Right, guys, let's get to predictions. Raman, to you, what's the score going to be?
I don't know about the score, but I'm backing England today. I feel, with the way things are going right now, they might have lost to Italy 1-2, but they look like a tight, solid unit. I'd go with England today over Uruguay.
England over Uruguay
again,
today.
Did you notice he snuck a V again in there?
Yes, I did indeed. Nikhil, for you, what's the score going to be?
I'm going to expect it to be a draw. The reason I think it's going to be a draw is I think Uruguay have a lot going forward, but missing Lugano and Maxi Pereira is really going to hurt their back line. So I expect it to be a draw, and then I expect Costa Rica to go through.
Whoa, fantastic. Yes, I'm going to totally take his side there, not for just the fact that I've been wrong all before, but in general, I also think it's going to be a 2-2 draw. I'm going to put my money on Chaitanya.
I think it's going to be a 2-1 win for England.
2-1 win for the England from the other man in the studio. Fantastic. Right. We've got two other games, of course, coming up tonight. Not much time to talk about them. In fact, only about a minute or so. We've got Colombia versus the Ivory Coast. That is going to be...
Again, two teams who have done well in the group. They are the two competitors to progress. I think this match decides who gets to go first, considering Ivory Coast and Colombia have registered their first wins in their game.
True.
Again, the match between what I'd like to see is who does better in those teams. It's a straight shot between the rejuvenated Gervinho and the ever so promising James Rodriguez. You gotta love this kid.
James Rodriguez is a talent.
He's like an unending supply of speed, creativity, hostility, so much offense. I'd love to see him do well in a Colombian shirt.
We're also going to see if Drogba does make an appearance. I'm sure he will. We're also going to see a clash of the veterans. In defense, you've got... We were trying to do his name. It just sounded like a funny word. Yepes and Drogba. These are the two veterans, one at 38, one at 35 years old. They might be clashing off. These teams have never faced each other before, so let's see what happens when that game happens. I'm not going to ask for predictions from you guys because we are running short on time. Japan versus Greece.
I think an easy win
I'm going
for
to take
Japan.
Raman's take on that for the final. Say Japan versus Greece. Do we anything to look out for there?
I'd say Japan there, although there's really not much to choose between the two sides. I'd still say Japan over Greece because Greece really haven't found their mojo. And just one little comment about the Colombia Ivory Coast game. I fancy Colombia getting the better of Ivory Coast. One, the South American team have played. A lot of their football in these conditions. They know exactly what to expect. And I think they'd have more firepower over the Ivory Coast team.
James Rodriguez from Raman. Happy days. Let's see I'm excited to see how that turns out. Guys, that is the end of our show then today on What the Football. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, there is a prize going on. You can win yourself a trip to Brazil. You can only do that by logging on to indiapostlive.com and submitting your answers over there. We'll be doing it as well to be keeping tabs on all of you. In the meantime, do send in all your stuff on Twitter or Facebook, wherever you can, to India Post Live. Use the hashtag WTFootball. And until next time, guys, on Hangout, thank you so much once again for joining us. Chaitanya, as always, get the car started. We will be off.
Now, you're wearing a Spanish jersey. I'm not going to give you a lift anyway.
I guess I'm driving.
Take care, guys. Have a very, very good night.